Hey everyone, welcome back. This is Lori, and I have another plant for you today. It's actually one that I'm really super excited about. This is the trailing watermelon Pellionia. Now you can kind of see it here. It's just a really cool looking plant. And it has kind of a special characteristic about it. It almost looks like, to me, like a swamp monster. And that's why I actually liked it so much, because I just felt like it was like a little animal. You can see how beautiful those leaves are. The little veins through them is really just the coolest thing. And you can see why they call them watermelon. This trailing watermelon Pellionia, the tag actually says Pellionia, but it's actually Pellionia. I've had this one for a couple of months now, and it's grown quite nicely, very easy to grow. I got this little container at a nursery, and I just thought it was a really cool container to put it in. So I really like this, and I wanted to talk about this here because I feel like this is one that is super easy to grow, and if you're looking for a trailing plant, this is the one for you. I do feel like it is just a little swamp monster, and I like it a lot. So I actually got this from Heartland Nursery in Missouri, and in a little nook in their greenhouse area, and my eye went directly to it, and I just thought it was the coolest looking thing. It had just a special characteristic about it, and I think just because, like I said, it looks like a swamp monster of some sorts. It is actually from Southeastern Asia, so particularly Vietnam and Malaysia. I think Burma was another place that I read it was from. And some of this area over here that you see is kind of a little bare because actually I'm propagating some, and so I cut some off. The stems do fall off. They're very fragile to some extent, and they can break very easily, but the nice thing about it is you can propagate it and then end up with a new plant in no time. So this is a great gifting plant. So in other words, you can buy it for yourself, and then you can end up cutting the stems, just making sure that the leaves are pulled off of the stem part, and then putting in water. Once you see the roots, then go ahead and put it in soil. Extremely easy. This is a super easy plant to propagate, and I actually, even though I haven't had this plant for a long time, I've had it for a couple of months now. Besides the fact that it is super easy to grow, not just in its pot itself, but also with the propagation as well, I do want to show you actually what I'm doing, and this is the second one I've actually propagated. So I actually have it's in my other room. I have a really cool little like decorative container that has all kinds of like different sizes of these, and so I actually had that little one in there. I didn't realize that I had in there. Well, that's interesting. I don't remember putting that in there, but there's a little one in there you can see, and it's already got tons of roots. So yeah, so this has only been in here for about a week, maybe less than that. And this was actually one that broke off of the original plant, and you can kind of see here, I don't know if you can or not, yeah, right there. You can see this one right here. So that's a root growing, and I probably would not put this quite in soil. I suppose you could put it in soil right after the breakage, but I like to just, for some reason, it's really cool for me to see it like this. So I like to see the roots, and I know some people are really big about that too, where they like to see the roots growing. And I just love the container that I have it in because I grow all types of plants in it. And so yeah, so this one is not, I mean, I suppose some people would probably, because it's got about 4 or 5 on there of the little roots, but I like to see the roots a little bit hardier looking than that. And then also I just like looking at it like that. If you're really big into giving things that are kind of more natural, or not spending a whole lot of money but you don't have a lot of money, or you just want to save money, these are great gifts for Christmas and things like that. I am kind of weird when it comes to propagating plants. I feel like they're mine, and so when I give them away, I'm always afraid that if the person is going to kill the plant, I feel like I just gave my baby away and that other person's going to kill it. So I give you a piece of a propagated plant, that usually means that I really like you, and I really trust you, and I really believe that you're going to take my baby and take care of it. So yeah, so that's definitely something that I am looking forward to doing more, because I would love to have these all over the place. And stems do break very easily, but as I mentioned earlier, super easy to propagate, so don't start crying if you lose a stem off. Just basically what you do is just go ahead and propagate it. So I am actually going to show you, let's see here. So we'll take, I got my scissors here, And I'm going to actually take this one back here. I always feel kind of bad cutting it, but I'm going to take this one back here so I can kind of show you how easy it is. So I'm going to take this one here so you can kind of see. And then I'm going to cut further down. You can kind of see where I'm going to cut. I'm going to cut at the base of that. So I'm going to cut about right here. And I don't know if I would do propagating right when you get a new plant. I don't think that's a good idea. Most plants are, some are a little pickier when you end up cutting them and things like that, and you have to wait longer. But I just cut this off of there, as you can see. So that's kind of a big piece, and you probably don't even need that big of a piece. What I'm going to do next, very gently, is I'm going to take off the leaves, and I'm just going to kind of do a twisting motion. Remember, the stem breaks very easily, so I'm just twisting them, twisting, twisting, and all the way to the bottom. Those can rot really easily, so that's why you want to take the leaves off at the bottom. Twisting again. So cute leaves. I just love the leaf. You can see the leaves there. They're just so cute. I feel bad doing that, but I feel bad taking them off. But yeah, so we're kind of getting bigger, and I'm just twisting around. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add it. So here, I could probably do more, but I really like seeing the top of the plant. So I'm going to actually take my container again, and I'm just going to put it plop it right in there with the other one, and just make sure it's secure. And make sure that the leaves are not in the water because, like I said, it will rot that. So yeah, so here's another one to propagate with that. I have a good friend at work who she's into plants, and I like to, we kind of exchange plants sometimes, and she's just a sweetheart. So yeah, so I'll probably propagate this for her. Care for it. Overall, this is an extremely easy plant. It does like humidity. I did have it in my bathroom for a while, and once I took it out of the bathroom, it seems like it hasn't, it's still growing great, but it just, for some reason, I get this feeling that it does like the humid air better, and it seemed like the indirect light of the bathroom as well. So I may eventually end up doing a cutting and putting it back in there as well, but I put it by my desk because I love seeing it, and maybe that's just not right. I'm being selfish and I want to see it near me. You want to be careful about putting it in direct light because that obviously can burn leaves, and I do think that I have a couple of areas that got a little bit burnt. You can kind of see here where I got kind of like a little sunburn there on the leaf. So as far as watering, you want to keep it consistently moist, not overwatering because you don't want the root rot, but you want to keep it consistently moist in the spring and the summertime when it's actively growing, and then kind of cut back a bit in the fall and the winter time when it's not growing quite as much. And then the overwatering, you can probably, you'll get a little bit of a yellowish looking leaf sometimes. So I think I did a little bit of overwatering in the beginning. Grown like crazy. The pot that it was in was so tiny, and then like just in a matter of like 2 weeks or less, I mean, I look like I have a whole new plant here. So now it's in its own little pot, and this has grown like crazy. The pot that it was in was so tiny, and you don't want to do too big of a pot, obviously, because then that can cause issues with it growing and root rot and things like that. And you could put it in a hanging basket, and then even in the basket you could surround some moss. Now, if you're not great with growing moss, or if you've never grown moss before, just know that obviously it likes to be moist. Because this is a darker color, the green moss could look really pretty underneath, and you just want to. So the interesting thing about this is, I suppose what I'm reading is that it is a type of begonia, although the flower, at least that's what I read, and I can kind of see it a little bit, but if you know anything about begonias obviously look different. Usually there's showy flowers, and this does have a flower eventually, but it's a green color flower, and it's really not what that's known for. It's not very showy. It's not a significant thing of this plant. I just think this is so fun by itself with its leaves, and how I just really feel like it's like my little animal or something. So it just is a fun plant in that way, and I'm so happy with even just the leaves. And even if it flowers, it flowers, but I'm just happy with the way it looks. With the new growths that you can see there, and I'll kind of put this up a little bit closer so you can probably see the little new growth there. So some of the new growths, they kind of come out looking a little bit like almost pinkish looking, and underneath the leaf here, you can see they're pale, of course, but then the new growths, which when I repotted it, it actually started getting a lot of these new growths on there underneath. You can kind of see the little pink parts here right there. So yeah, so it grows pretty quickly, and I just decided to repot it because it was in a really small pot. As far as the sun, it likes to be in indirect partial shade light, and where I had it, it was up on a sill, and I think that's actually probably why it got a little bit burned, because the light came in, it was probably directly getting on the leaves, so I took it out of that area. So I suppose you could grow this outdoors kind of as like a ground cover. Like I said, a lot of people will do it in like hanging baskets. For me, this is what works. I like to see it, and I'm being selfish, and I like to see it right on my little, I can show you here. I don't know if you can see it. I have like a whole like plant shelf there, and so yeah, like I like to see it. It just makes me super happy when I look at it. And I'll probably be a nice mom, and I'll probably put it back in the bathroom a little bit because it seemed to like that. But so with this, a couple of things. You could grow it outside. You could even grow it as ground cover, and I suppose that would do really nicely. It doesn't get really that high. It usually gets about maybe less than 6 inches, probably 3 to 6. And then as far as spread, it can get 1 to 2 feet, and it may even get longer than that if you're growing it outside, because a lot of times these type of plants like to, if you have it in the right place, they'll go crazy outside. So if it gets under 60 degrees, it really needs to come indoors. And so if you want to keep on propagating it and you want to keep on growing it, definitely what you could probably do is, if you have some propagated like in the, whenever you end up deciding to do it right before spring, when there's no more concern for frost, like if it's in May or whatever, and then you want to take a piece off it that you've already got propagated and put it out there, I think that would be a great idea to start a kind of ground cover and see how that looks. How you say it. I did a mixture of different things like the perlite, just regular potting soil, good potting soil, and then, but there are some places that says like loamy, and which I have to read more up on that, but loamy soil with, of course, the peat moss, which I did use in this, but I think you have to be careful about the peat moss because it almost seems like it doesn't hold enough moisture. And then the perlite, and then there was some different places that I read that said you could actually use a mixture of loam. Let's see what this is. You can mixture of loam, peat, and sand in equal parts. And so that's not exactly what I did, but I did do the peat, and I don't think I did sand. I might have done some sand, but yeah, so they're pretty easy to grow, though. I think anything that thank you guys so much for watching, and I am so happy to tell you about this plant here, and I hope you end up getting one. This one, when it was in a smaller container, it probably cost me about $5 or less, and this is something that keeps on giving, the gift that keeps on giving, and you can give it to several friends, so I highly recommend it. And I'm super happy that I ended up getting this plant, and I definitely wanted to share it with you guys because, like I said, it is my little swamp monster, and I am just so happy to propagate it and give it to people that I love and care about, and then also put it everywhere in my house. So yeah, so please hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for my next videos.